Not that I'd ever compete in a plane, but man, having a blast.
Here's John McCardle now, taking a big bite of angle of attack. He's off short.
First-hand view here of John's takeoff. What do you thought about that?
Takeoffs are definitely shorter than mine. He's just going to have to tighten those landings up, but he's got potential. He's got potential. I'm going to have to watch it close.
You know, I joke around with everyone that I'm the worst pilot on the circuit, but I do have a lot of time in the Zenith. It's not like I'm just a low-time pilot getting out here and just kind of messing around. The cool thing about this and this sport was that everyone takes you under your wing, and if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, they're going to tell you. So you shouldn't be afraid to get out here and do it.
Big Good bounce. Over the line, big bounce. And it was tight for a second here. John McCardle. So there you go, Oklahoma STOL 2024 Touring Class winners. The competitors are all getting lined up.
I mean, this thing was bigger than we expected. I mean, we had pilots coming in from all over the country, and it was just an amazing turnout for us to see in the world, to see what you guys are doing, man. I think that's just the coolest thing ever. We want to be part of it. We're going to continue to support National STOL, and I think it's going to continue to grow. I mean,
did I get you out? I'm sorry.
You know, we came down here with a new airplane, and it is a rocket ship. The rest of the season from now on is pretty much just going to be a long story of me winning. You know, our competition's great. We've got great pilots, but when you bring the best horse to the rodeo and you can compete with the pilots, you're going to win.
We just saw John McCardle come in. His takeoffs were shorter than Brandon Corrins, and look at that. He tightened up the landing just like Brandon told him to. Based on the scores in front of me, John McCardle now in first place.
Yeah, so I met Brandon a while ago when I was basically in the rookie class. It's good to finally give him a run for money. I think the rivalry is going to be really good, make it more entertaining, but he's never getting the belt back.
And welcome to Hartford, Wisconsin at Hartford Municipal Airport, where we're getting ready to kick off free practice for Sodbusters 2024. I'm your host, Ryan Dombrowski, and I'll be with you all day, bringing you the action as competitors test their aircraft in preparation for tomorrow's competition. Hartford, Wisconsin, known for the Cub Club, Cub Air flights, training in the iconic J3 Piper aircraft. Lots of amazing pilots have earned their wings there, including, guess what, yours truly. It's a beautiful day for flying here above the Wisconsin farms. Everybody, it's time for Sodbusters 2024. And it has been just an amazing little mini homecoming for me here in the broadcast trailer. Everyone's getting ready to fly for practice. And it's been just an amazing time reconnecting with Steve, our host here at Sodbusters, who's my flight instructor, and seeing the full extent of all the aircraft that have made the journey. Of course, Sodbusters is a really popular stop on the National STOL circuit because we're just, 38, 39 nautical miles away from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where in 2 days we've got the world's largest aviation celebration, the world's busiest airport next week, just north of us. So everyone can stop here, get in some STOL competition, and get ready for an amazing week. We have a stacked group of competitors for you. Just like as I look out of the trailer here, I see Pat McIntyre's S7. I believe I see Joel Milloway's Tiger Shark out there. You've got Steve Henry in Race 44, Yeehaw 8, rocking 5 blades on that propeller. I've got a little treat for you about that a little bit later today. And then we've got, I believe I see John McCardle's Maul out there. Warhorse, who's been shaking it up all season now, is here. We've got Levi Nogas, one of the long-standing competitors of National STOL in his Storch. Brandon Korn is here in his big Cessna, and Kyle Bushman is here in the biggest thing I've ever seen. It's just the largest, hugest Cub, 4-seat Cub thing. We're going to see that compete today. It's actually, because it's a brand new experimental aircraft, we need to figure out where we're going to put it. So part of practice today is getting kind of the initial numbers, the initial performance on that aircraft, and then deciding which class it's going to compete in tomorrow for the formal competition. You're going to see a lot of different airplanes compete today. We've got currently 33 competitors registered for the competition, and I heard there might even be some more on the way. You're going to see everything from the humble and venerable Cessna 172 up to high performance, over 300 horsepower, naturally aspirated turbo engine beasts. It's going to be a really fun one here in Hartford, Wisconsin. Let's talk a little bit about what we're working with at this airport. We're at Hotel X-Ray Foxtrot. If you want to pull it up on your sectional, or if you still have a paper sectional, maybe use iFly EFB or ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot, something like that. Hotel X-Ray Foxtrot is where we're at in Hartford, Wisconsin. There's 2 runways at Hartford, but my favorite is the one we're competing on right now. It's actually runway 1836. Runway 1836 is a little over 2,000 feet of just excellent turf. It does kind of go uphill to the north. There's a few undulations, but it is one of the best kept turf runways, certainly in the state of Wisconsin. And I would, I may be a little biased because I've spent a lot of time here, I think maybe one of the best turf runways in the United States. It's just so well kept and so well groomed. Maybe almost too well kept and too well groomed for a STOL competition, but we will see what happens today. So over 2,000 feet, of course, we're only using a few hundred of that for our competition. Things set up right now for a pattern with a landing to the south based on the winds today. As we get ready to go, I am so honored to share with you one of the people that's going to be help bring this to you at home. Bush pilot, aviation influencer, and guy who looks great in a cowboy hat. Corey Robin is in the pits right now.
Hey, Ryan, how's things going over there in the announcer stand? I am here in the pits, hanging out with all these STOL pilots, having such a great time here in Hartford, Wisconsin.
So, Corey, who you got behind you right now? It looks like we've got a tiger shark behind you. Who else is in the pits right now? What's going on?
Well, everybody's getting ready to fly, so we don't really want to interrupt the mojo right now, but we've got all these fantastic competitors. Obviously, one of the most beautiful aircraft on the circuit. Carbon Cubs, we got Rans, we got Cessnas, we got it all over here in the pits. The energy is really the story right now. Something special is going to happen here at Sodbusters. I'm looking at the heavies, I'm looking at the lightweights, I'm looking at everything, and everybody's excited to fly this year. I'm really excited as well.
Corey, as we gear up, I'm wondering if there are any competitors that you're excited to see fly today, anything unique or special that we haven't seen before.
Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Of course, we're going to see the Badlands Traveler putting on quite a performance today. He was flying around earlier today, and I got to tell you, at these lower altitudes, it is a beast. I got to tell you. We were in Moses Lake a few weeks ago, so we got to see it at a higher altitude. But down here, close to the thick air where it's really thick and gooey, it just seems to stick to the air. So I think we're going to see some special things from the Badlands Traveler. But I'm really excited about the 206s, the heavies, some of my favorite airplanes. These guys have been making some tweaks to their airplanes, and I've been listening. And I don't want to give away the secrets at the beginning, and that's for when I get into the booth with you. But, man, it's getting good. It's getting really good.
I think one last question I got for you, Corey, as we gear up. You know, you've flown in the backcountry a lot. You and I were talking about some of the adventures that you've had even in the last couple of weeks. You know, what's it like as a competitor? You've competed before. You're gearing up for practice day. What's practice day like for you as you're getting ready to go?
You know, practice day is really where the fangs start to come out. It's really where you get things dialed in, you get used to the climate, the environment, because things change at every event. The weather, the altitude, the density altitude, everything changes at every event. So it's time to get your game face on, get the airplanes tuned up, get yourself tuned up, get your nutrition handled, and get it done.
Well, thank you so much, Corey, for giving us a little brief look at the pits. I don't know, you're going to be out there for a little bit, and then you're going to come join me in the booth. I can't wait to give you a high five, and we're in for a great day of practice.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one here in Hartford, Wisconsin. Loving it.
So Corey's going to go sniff out some stories as people get ready to fire things up. We're going to be kicking off practice in just a few minutes. Corey mentioned some of the things that people have to get used to, right? We've got the runway conditions, and I was just waxing poetic about how they're fantastic. But we also have to look at the weather. And this weekend, you know, compared to Moses Lake about a month ago, we saw some insanity in Moses Lake. We had what every STOL competition STOL pilot dreams of, right? We had heavy wind on the nose when the Badlands Traveler Warhorse was flying with Jeff Daly at controls. Close to 30 knots on the nose, right down the runway, right down the pipe, exactly what you want. Things are a little bit lighter today. Current weather conditions, the nearest weather observation station is West Bend Municipal Airport in Wisconsin. They're showing winds at 240 at 4 knots. So for practice today, we're going to have a bit of a crosswind from the pilot's right side as they head south, so crosswind from the west. And that's not super conducive to really, really short numbers, but that's a little exciting to see if you've been following STOL for a long time, because it really starts to show you two things. It starts to show you pilot performance and pilot skill and aircraft performance, because you're not getting that boost of the wind over the wings right down the nose. So light winds, crosswind to deal with, can be a little tricky. If that crosswind starts to flirt with being a tailwind, that's when things get really challenging. A lot of the aircraft in National STOL are tail draggers, and every tail dragger pilot knows that that quartering tailwind can be a little bit to handle sometimes. I may or may not have had a slow motion ground loop here at Hartford during my training due to that exact thing. So it's something to keep an eye on. If you're new here, I want to talk to you a little bit about how National STOL works. So in front of us right now, we have, and actually you can see a great drone shot of the pits right now. In front of us, we have this beautiful turf runway, and it's segmented out with distance markers. Right in front of the booth, we've got about 150-foot distance marker. You'll see to the north, to my right, your left, if you're in the crowd right now, you'll see a white line that's been painted across the runway. That's where everything starts and stops at National STOL. So pilots will taxi up to that line, apply full throttle, and take off as short as possible. We'll have line judges there to measure that distance as accurately as possible. The pilots will they'll be making left traffic in the current runway configuration, come around for a landing, and land as close to the line as possible without landing before it or without touching it. So you want to make sure that you land just after that line. If you land before or touch it, it's a scratch. That run doesn't count. Assuming you're a super pilot and you land beyond it, we measure the distance from the line to the main wheels. We add that number to the number of the takeoff. Bingo, bango, Bob's your uncle. And we have a score. So that's how it works. And Corey and I will walk you through it more and more today. But actually, speaking of Corey, I see him in the pits right now with two fine young gentlemen who are going to be competing today in practice. Corey, if you can hear me, who do you have out there in the pits right now?
I'm here with probably one of the most fun grudge matches that we're going to have today. I'm here with Jeff Pohl and Jerry Clemens, two completely different aircraft, two completely different competitors. I'm going to go to Jerry first because he's kind of considered the challenger here because Jeff's old hand kicks the butt all the time. But now we've got Jerry here. Jerry, how are you feeling today? What's it going to be like to go against these 170s in your Husky?
Well, it should be pretty easy. I mean, because Jeff always scratches, and so with that, you know, and the last time I didn't scratch at all, but, you know, and even if Jeff does win, I still feel like I'm better looking.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've noticed is it's very impressive what these 170s are able to do. But this Husky with the reversible propeller, it's almost like you've got a secret weapon. Is the reverse going to come out today, you think?
If it works.
If it works.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. What makes it work and what doesn't make it work? Is it a timing thing or what's that all about? Because there's some safety protocols that go with that propeller, right?
Yeah, if you don't have the RPMs down low enough and you engage it, and you think it's down low enough, and then you think it's engaged, then you give it full throttle, it'll throw you an extra 50 feet out, which is not very handy.
Yeah, and when the competition's between literally inches, you're going to need that. Now, let me go to Jeff over here because he is, I don't know, maybe we need to nickname him Iceman or something because he usually has ice in his veins. What's going to happen today, you think? What's your prediction between you and Jerry?
My prediction is Jerry is going to whoop my butt. I haven't flown in 9.5 months. So the most seat time I've got since finals first week of November last year was flying here. I did a few practice runs this morning. It was downhill landing on 1.8. And when I think I'm about ready to touch down, I just keep going because the ground is dropping away from you. So it just goes to show I'm out of practice. I'm just out of touch with my airplane. I used to be really consistent with it, and I just haven't flown. So.
Okay, well, that's an interesting story that's going to develop as we go throughout the day. Rusty Jeff Pohl against the sleeky smooth Jerry Clements. Stick around. Lots of STOL action coming your way. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks so much, Corey. I'm excited to see Jeff Pohl, and I kind of wonder if he is just telling us that so that we are surprised and delighted by his performance later today during practice. And he'll certainly have enough time to get things pulled together as we get ready to go. So we talked a little bit about what National STOL is, how it works. The other thing I want to talk to you about, and you heard about, you know, Jeff and Jerry competing in the backcountry class. Everything is separated by classes, and these classes, as you'll see throughout the day if you're new to this, they're organized first by gross weight. What planes can carry about the same amount of weight? They're, you know, how much stuff between the plane and what's in it can it carry into the sky? But the other side of it is, what is the aircraft's typical performance? And so to keep things competitive, what National STOL does is they take the performance year over year, they work with a pilot's rules committee, and they make sure that everything goes together nice and easy so that we have a more competitive show. Now you're seeing sometimes this season, you're seeing things get upset a little bit when you have new innovations in STOL. And by the way, folks, if you're new to airplanes, STOL is one of the most exciting places to see innovation in airplanes. We've got experimental aircraft being modified. We've got certificated, you have to say it that way, certificated airplanes being built to be competitive in STOL. And then you've got like the old reliables, like the 205s and the 206s. Those are all still really competitive and exciting to see. So all that innovation, all that old school technology, all working together to keep things moving. So those things that we've seen this season, for instance, Warhorse, we talked about that, Jeff Daly's Warhorse, that Badlands Traveler, the new wing, man, that is something to watch, and it's upsetting that class because it's a new level of performance. Speaking of a new level of performance and experimental aviation and innovation, I see Corey has another grudge match to explain to us as we head into practice today. And I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but it looks like he's with Steve Henry and Dan Reynolds. And it looks like we're having some technical issues real quick there with Corey, so we're going to have to go back to him in just a second with Steve Henry. I'm sure Steve was given an amazing answer to something that I just interrupted. So we'll get that ironed out in just a second. But take a look at all the airplanes starting to get engine start there as we're getting ready to go. Looks like we've got the heavies. If I'm not mistaken, that's Sam Lavery, newcomer to the circuit, last 2 weeks ago. So we're going to see him in that Cessna. And now I've been told, I think we're ready to go back to Corey. Corey, who do you have there?
I'm here with Steve Henry and Dan Reynolds. This is going to be a heck of a grudge match today. It's really 3 competitors in the unlimited class today, and I'm here with 2 of them. Dan, what do you expect to do today in these conditions against Steve Henry and against Jason Boussat?
You know, they're some of the best out there, if not the best, and to just be up against them is quite an honor and privilege. They have a lot more horsepower than me, so unless I have a favorable wind, it's going to be tough. I think they have the upper edge personally, but I'm going to give it my best, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, 2 diversely different aircraft. It's going to be a heck of a fun thing to watch. Steve Henry, one to watch. What's going on with your airplane? Is it dialed in? Is everything going well?
I think it's pretty dialed in. We've been experimenting with a new 5-blade prop this weekend, and it pulls just as good as our 4-blade, but it doesn't rev up quite as quick. It's super smooth. It's like we're just, weighing it out which one. We went with the 4-blade, at least for now. You might look out there in a little while and there's 5 blades, but for now it's a 4-blade.
Okay, cool. Well, he's been playing around with all kinds of different configurations. Dan, have you been playing around with different things, or you got your airplane pretty much set?
It's right where it's been set. I haven't played with it since last summer, and then I brought it down to the finals, and I haven't changed anything. It's so far. Yeah, we'll just to see how tough the competition is. I mean, I drive Steve drives me, now Jason's here. It's great to see him. I've never been up against him. I don't know what to expect. I expect he's got a lot of horsepower too, so it's going to be a real match. It's going to be something to watch.
Okay, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Dan Reynolds, Steve Henry, thank you very much. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks so much, Corey. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Steve. One of my favorite parts about watching Steve and his team wrench on everything is there's always huge rumors about that airplane and what people are doing to that airplane. So much, and the rumors actually make their way all the way to the broadcast booth. I heard from a very reliable source a little over a month ago, before we were in Pittsburgh, that Steve Henry was running nitrous. And I was like, oh, I don't think he is, but you're so confident. The rumor is so confident. And Steve pulled me aside at the campfire and said, I got to correct you. That's not accurate. And that part of it is super fun too for me, is that we are on the leading edge of innovation here at National STOL, getting these airplanes to do things that, frankly, either of those competitors, Steve Henry, Dan Reynolds, they're doing things with planes that they defy physics. You're going to be so confused about what you see. Your eyes will deceive you, you will think. So it's just really cool to see that. And the competition and the innovation is so strong that a lot of times stuff makes its way even all the way up to the National STOL broadcast booth that's incorrect about the aircraft. Gearing up for free practice here at Sodbusters 2024, we've got Sam Lavery hanging out right in front of the booth, getting ready for the green flag. Brandon Korn, this will be their first time in a matchup. Right behind him, and another giant beast of an airplane. And I believe I see John McCardle in the mall with his prop spinning, getting ready to go. And Luke Strandland taxiing in the Murphy Super Rebel, getting ready for this first heat of practice. It'll be your touring class. So let's talk about them a little bit. Sam Lavery, he's got a 1979 Cessna 206. It's the white and brown one right in front of you there. All the way from Lorton, Virginia. Started flying when he was 17, and he's been flying jumpers, skydivers out of the 206. And we watched his first competition just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, in Pittsburgh, and putting down some good numbers there for Sam. Behind him in Black Betty, it's Brandon Korn in a 1963 Cessna 205. You got to wonder why that plane looks so pretty. It's beautifully painted. Brandon Korn is a third-generation owner of a collision center that was established in 1948. So, of course, he would have to have a beautifully painted aircraft ready to go there. Behind him, Luke Strandland in the Murphy Super Rebel, all the way from Mora, Minnesota. Started flying in 2014. He's got a lot of different aircraft under his belt, everything from a Murphy Moose to the Murphy Super Rebel, a Zlin Savage in the middle there. Started competing last year in National Stols. It's fun to see him out here competing. And then John McCardle in the 1978 Mall M5 from Omaha, Nebraska. It says here that he's a relatively new pilot. I don't know if that's accurate anymore. He got his pilot's license just a few years ago in 2022, but he has been putting in hours and putting in competitions. There is a grudge match between John McCardle and Brandon Korn, and you've heard Brandon Korn say it on the broadcast before. He says, that Mall should beat me. It's a nice flex there, Brandon. That Mall should beat me, but he's holding him at bay right now the best he can. So that's the one to watch. The other one to watch, frankly, is Sam Lavery. We haven't really seen much from him yet this season, right? He just got one competition in, and he has been really working hard in those competitions, and we're seeing a lot of a really, really good performance from him. So kind of a wild card today to see what he does against these more seasoned competitors. Also hoping to see some other aircraft in the touring class. Stinson 108 hoping to compete, and a Cessna 185 Skywagon coming in, piloted by Kurt Leaders. And then it's possible, but I'm not sure, I heard a rumor during the pilot briefing that Warren Grobelar in the polished Cessna 180 would be returning to National STOL this weekend. We'll see if he makes it in for practice, if he's able to compete. But that'd be really fun to see. And on camera there, you're seeing Kyle Bushman with this new beast of an aircraft. It's so big. They're not exactly sure what to do with it. It's a 2024 backcountry Super Cub called the Boss from Eugene, Oregon. And Kyle's the owner of the Ragwood Refactory, which specializes in aircraft restoration and modification. And we've seen him on the circuit before, but not in anything like this. This backcountry Super Cub is brand new. It's we're going to see some really exciting flying, and based on what happens in practice today, it'll get put into one of the classes for competition tomorrow. So that is super exciting to see. Kyle Bushman, always a treat. I remember a few years back seeing Kyle and Austin Clemens do a little impromptu slow flight competition a couple thousand feet above the airport, and both just incredible pilots. So again, gearing up for practice here in Hartford, Wisconsin for Sodbusters 2024. Just, I don't want to say we're in the shadow. We're in the light shined by Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and EAA's Air Venture, which will be kicking off in just a few days. People already finally making their way up to that. Some pilot, by the way, I'll preach for a little bit, folks. I live here in Wisconsin. I live just down the road in Milwaukee, and we had a big political event in the community over this last week, and a lot of pilots making their way up to Oshkosh, busting that TFR. There's a temporary flight restriction that goes with political events like that whenever the president or a candidate is in town. And we got to hear some F-35s buzzing through Milwaukee, chasing down some. I think one was an RV, another maybe a Cessna. So pilots, if you're watching this, make sure you're reading those NOTAMs, checking those TFRs. No TFRs today, but if you're going to Oshkosh, read that NOTAM. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you know where you're going, because it's all about safety when we're flying right now. And we've got the heavies taxiing up to the line. Sam Lavery up first. Next up, behind Sam, we've got Brandon Korn from Gauss, Texas, in the Cessna 205. And now taxiing up in front of you in that 2009 Murphy Super Rebel from Mora, Minnesota in race 260, Luke Strandland. And from Omaha, Nebraska, in race number 10 in a 1978 Mall M5, John McCardle. And Sam Lavery getting ready to be taxied into position by our chief line judge, Lexi. She's getting him ready to go. Going to taxi his main wheels up to the line again. He's from Lorton, Virginia, in that 1979 Cessna 206, race number 734. So you'll see, folks, that Sam's got his main wheels on the line. And in these aircraft, these tricycle aircraft, that's the wheels at the back of the airplane. He's going to get released by the air bosses, which are actually just a few feet above me, on top of this trailer, making sure that separation and local traffic and all that stuff is safe. And we have the first takeoff of free practice of Sodbusters 2024 underway. And for Sam, a little bit of a sink back to the runway. If you were to do that during competition, to be judged by the last time the main wheels touched the ground, you saw him get that nose down, get the descent arrested, and then getting up to flying speed and off into the sky. Here's Brandon Korn in race 30. He's on the roll, flaps down, digging that tail, and a much cleaner liftoff for Brandon Korn. That's not surprising. The veteran against the newcomer in those 205s, 206s. Luke Strandland in the Murphy Super Rebel. Up now, notice different landing gear configuration. The main wheels at the front of that tail dragger, getting that nose nice and low, that tail nice and high, waiting for flying speed, yanks it back maybe just a little early, And you're noticing all the airplanes kind of shifting a little bit laterally in that crosswind. Even a small crosswind can do that for you. They'll get that dialed in. There is our friend John McCardle now from Omaha, Nebraska in that mall. His main wheel is on the line. Stick fullback. Getting that tail up real high. Taking a bite. And he is off short. That is going to be hard for Brandon to compete with in the much heavier airplane. Let's take a look at the scores. Sam Lavery's takeoff, 274 feet. Would have been a lot shorter if he'd kept it off the ground. Brandon Korn with 208 feet. Luke Strandland with a takeoff of 355 feet. Waiting on John McCardle's score to come in to the booth here as we have Sam Lavery now on short final. Such a beautiful day to fly here in Wisconsin. Pulling the throttle out. Good over the line. He's got to get heavy on those brakes. Notice he's got that yoke completely back, getting all the aerodynamic braking he can, as well as protecting that nose wheel when you've got a soft field technique in a tri-gear like that. Although, let's be honest, with fat tires like that on the nose, you're probably a little less worried about it. Brandon Korn should be coming in. There he is on short final. A little bit of a higher approach, and man, it's like you painted the clouds behind him. Such a beautiful day here in Hartford, Wisconsin. Here he is now. As Luke Strandland turns in behind him, base to final. Carrying a little bit of throttle, getting it dialed in. Remember, this is practice, so we don't need to throw it all out just yet. Somewhere a little over 350 feet for Brandon Korn. Sam Lavery's total first run score is in with 646 feet combined. And I want to put that into perspective for people. That is a small number. Brandon Korn now with 561 feet combined. These are airplanes that are absolutely large, and I want to put in perspective, I am not a hardcore STOL pilot. I cannot take off, maybe even just take off my 172 in less than these combined scores are. And a scratch now for Luke Strandland on his first practice run. That's okay. That's what practice is for. Still getting it stopped. Which leaves John McCardle in the mall. His best takeoff, the shortest of this first run of practice with 177 feet. Absolutely just floating it in. Little burst of throttle to get him over the line. Gave up maybe 75 to 100 feet on the landing. And he may just roll it out. And everyone's getting taxied around for another practice run. Sam Lavery up against the line, taxied into position. And it's time for run 2 of practice of the touring class here in Hartford, Wisconsin. Here's Sam Lavery now on the roll. Full throttle, stick back, yoke back. Still just struggling to get it timed right. And notice that it's a light crosswind, but he's got a little bit of that left wing dropping. That crosswind from the right. Watching the flags right now, we may be into light and variable now. Weather at West Bend Municipal 30 minutes ago showing just 3 knots. Brandon Korn also pulling just a little bit early, but getting it off the ground no problem. And I've got a special someone with me. He's got to figure out how to manage a cowboy hat and a headset. We'll talk a little bit more about STOL flying here. Here comes Luke Strandland with that beast of a Super Rebel. Timing it a little more accurately this time. And again, seeing that left wing drop as we get off into the air. John McCardle taxiing up to the line. A little bit of a, let's look at some scores here. Longer for Sam Lavery, longer for Brandon Korn on the takeoff. And I was actually expecting Sam's number to be shorter because he did touch down twice there on that first takeoff. John McCardle in the maul. Getting that tail up fast. Yanking it back, and he is off short. Sub 200 feet again for John McCardle. I do believe the wind has died down a little bit, which might be increasing these takeoff numbers. And I don't know if it's like this in other parts of the country, but here in Wisconsin, one of the things they taught me at Cub Air Flight, you saw that shot there of the water towers, and that is actually a great way to navigate in rural Wisconsin. You don't know where you are, just go find a water tower and do a little circle around it and see where you're at. Okay, we've got the hat situation. We went without the hat. Corey Robbins with me now in the booth. How you doing, friend?
Man, it's good to be in the booth.
Great to have you here. There's Sam Lavery just getting it down, stopped. We saw him for the first time just a few weeks ago. I'm interested to see what he did. I think he took first place too. So what you were out in the pits, kind of scoping it out. Anything else you want to share with us based on who's here and what to expect this weekend?
You know, one of the stories that I picked up on in the pits is Jason Boussat here at Sodbusters, driving for over 24 hours. But the interesting thing is he took his airplane apart and put it in a trailer for this one. So he's over there literally in assembly mode right now. His airplane is not ready. But that'll be interesting when we get to the unlimited class today, if the entire afternoon spent wrenching on an airplane affects his performance. And I did have an opportunity to talk to Steve Henry and Dan Reynolds about the unlimited class today as Brandon Korn comes over the line and puts in a great landing there. But they're a little bit nervous about Jason Boussat this time around, and both of them indicated that Jason has some surprises up his sleeves, that he's been working hard over the off season because he hasn't really been in a competition yet this season. But they expect some amazing things from Jason Boussat's full send aircraft.
going to be really cool to see that. I love it when we have the kind of two main competitors have to fret and worry about a newcomer. It keeps them on their game, and you can see, too, that here's actually John McCardle. Oh, no, Luke Strandland, excuse me, just hanging it out on the tail there.
That is so impressive to see, and he comes in for the beautiful backcountry landing.
Sorry, got excited about that. With Jason Boussat, I'm excited. Hopefully, he'll get it all assembled today for practice.
Yeah, he's about done. I didn't want to bother him for the interview. I did have a quick little chat with him, and he's in the nerves, but he's also very excited about what's going on, and it's going to be a good weekend for Jason Boussat. But back to Steve Henry, he's been playing around. I don't know if you heard on the interview because we had some technical difficulties, but he's been playing around with that new 5-bladed propeller. I think in the practice today he's going back to the 4, but then this evening I think he's going to work on that 5-blade and see if that works out good too. So, and then there's Dan Reynolds. He's just going to keep it the way it is. He knows it works.
Just keep it. The
good old lawn darter himself knows what's up.
We just saw John McCardle come in, gave up about 100 feet on the touchdown alone. Want to dial that in on the line a little bit better before tomorrow. And I'm watching these flags, Corey. Are we almost – some of these look like we might be just starting to get a little bit of a tailwind.
Right. So what the air bosses are looking at there with the wind conditions is they're looking for trend data to swap things around. So if it continues to look like a quartering tailwind like it currently is, they may call a direction switch, which might take a little bit, 2-3 minutes to switch that around. But, we like to fly into the wind in the backcountry, and so we might as well do the same thing here at the STOL competition.
It helps. Having the wind on the nose helps just a little bit. You don't want to get pushed. You want to be, or you do want to get pushed, but it's from what direction do you want to get pushed?
Right. You're exactly right.
So I want to just, again, this is practice, and everyone's dialing things in, but it's interesting to see where we're at. Brandon Korn up to this point had been holding kind of, let's call it a practice first place. John McCardle just coming in and getting those brakes working this time. Even though he gave up about 100 feet on the landing with a landing score of 318, he is now in, let's call practice first place, 505 feet. So as we see where everyone's kind of dialing in, Sam Lavery ahead of Luke Strandland. Brandon Korn
John is very hungry. That's a really good thing to see, both him and Brandon Korn putting in those great numbers. And look at that beautiful takeoff, just dragging that tail in the ground. That's exciting to see, the aggressiveness and the ability to perform. John McCardle and Brandon Korn are going to put on an absolute show tomorrow as they work out the kinks and get used to these conditions, the altitudes, the weather. It's good to see Lexi back out on the line as she gets Brandon Korn ready to go.
So here's Brandon Korn giving it the full beams, as it were, and he is a little less aggressive on that pullback. And I'm wondering actually if you had any advice. So Sam Lavery, I think this is his second competition, and all day today in practice what we've seen is he yanks it off really aggressively, but then he's settling back down. Any advice to him that you would extend?
It's just a matter of just knowing the aircraft and being patient. You do have that tendency to pull, and I think that just is working out the nerves, and he'll correct that before tomorrow, I'm sure. Look at that beautiful tail up high. Oh, you could feel the engine in your chest. That was so awesome.
That was really cool. I love watching that thing fly.
About the same takeoff roll as Brandon Korn there, looking at about 240 feet, 230 feet, something like that. Beautiful takeoff there. Look at this beautiful maul. The paint job is exquisite on this one. Tail up. Look at that, very aggressive. That was what we call a perfect pull, Ryan.
I was going to say the airplane leaped off the grass exactly when it needed to. Really, and you can tell John McCardle coming for Brandon Korn. He wants to unseat the championship. I want to talk a little bit about some folks in the social chat. By the way, if you want to hang out with us and talk to us in the booth, go to nationalstol.com. You can watch even if you're here in the crowd. You can watch on YouTube, Facebook, things like that. And we've got a lot of power being applied there with a go-around for Sam Lavery. Things got a little squirrely for him and did the right choice.
Yep.
Give it some throttle and go around. You can always go around.
Yeah, I like to see that. And what happened there, in my opinion, is you look at the flags right now. They're back to headwind. About 15 to 20 seconds before he was coming in, it was a tailwind. And I wasn't watching the flags. I was watching him. But what I suspect happened there is the condition changed very rapidly back to that headwind. And so he just called himself go-around, which is perfectly okay. We like that, actually, here at National STOL. We like the pilots to make those good decisions as they come in here. Here's Brandon Korn. He's got everything hanging out there. What a beautiful approach. Kind of long, though, about 75 feet he gave up there.
Wheels totally locked up. Just sliding on the turf.
Right, pretty consistent, though, right? At about 300, maybe just a little over 300 feet there for his landing. Very, very consistent performer, Brandon Korn is. One of my favorites, actually. So much fun to watch these big airplanes take off and land in such ridiculous. Now, it's so special. Like, we get used to it, but this is 300 feet.
Yeah, it's a small, like a freakishly small number.
For such a big airplane, I mean, I'm such a huge fan of this stuff and what they're able to do. It's literally Disney magic, in my opinion.
Disney magic. Here's Luke Strandlin now coming in on short final.
Look at that beautiful sky, that Wisconsin sky in the background. I don't know if the locals here appreciate it as much as we do, but there's nothing like a popcorn Wisconsin sky, I'll tell you what.
Nice and short for Luke Strandlin, and I finally get to talk about it. One of the rules we have here in National STOL is if you're a tail dragger, that tail wheel can touch before the line. It's just the main wheels that we're worried about. And I think that tail wheel did touch about maybe a foot before the line for Luke. So that's good. He's dialing in that approach to that line. While we've got, John McCardle coming in on short final, and I believe that maybe Sam Lavery off in the distance there getting ready to be on short final, getting his landing dialed in. Here's McCardle now.
That is such a beautiful airplane. I love the maul, such a distinctive fuselage and rudder system on there. Keeping it under good directional control. Oh, look at that. I think
you called it a little too soon.
I could tell he was having some brake fade. This is his third landing now, and so those brakes are getting hot. And that's something that you consider, especially in the STOL drag event, that the braking, those brake pads get hot, and you lose a little bit there. And I saw that happen at about 175 feet, and then it kind of fell out. That left brake fell out from underneath him there, right there at the end.
So while Sam comes in now on short final, I just wanted to give a shout out on social to Angela Douglas, who we're going to be seeing next, right, in August, mid-August. We're going to be headed to Pinedale, Wyoming for Rocky Mountain STOL, and she was saying hi. And I was saying to everyone before all the excitement kicked off, go talk to us. Talk to us on the chat, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. We'd love to chat with you. Here is Sam Lavery now getting it redialed in, and just before the line. Just a scratch there. Lexi called it.
That was gearing up to be a fantastic landing. You look where he came to a stop. That's a good 25 to 30 feet shorter than his shortest. So that was a really, really good attempt by Sam there. And, that makes me excited about what's going to happen tomorrow. This is all practice. This is where they're working out the bugs. They can shrug their shoulders and get comfortable and figure out the conditions and also see what the competitors are able to do. Really great job there. So much fun to watch these guys work it all out. Look at that aerial shot, Ryan.
Yeah, we've got some really, really great. I mean, and I just love. Maybe I brag too much because I love having trained here. You're going to hear it a million times this weekend. Look at that beautiful green turf. You got the trees all ready to go. You got the Wisconsin farms, the Wisconsin corn. We don't have terrain. Like, you've got terrain to fly around where you're from. We don't have terrain, but we got cornfields and trees. And it's nice. It's nice to go around. So you can get real low and
gorgeous.
You can smell the manure. Open the door to the Cub and smell the manure. There's nothing quite like it. Corey, let's look at the scores for practice for touring. This first heat of touring in practice. John McCardle with 494 feet.
Yep.
And then we've got Brandon Korn with 506. And speaking of Brandon Korn, he is in the pits, just dismounted his steed. How's it going, Brandon?
Yeah, this Brandon Korn flying the Cessna 205 out here at Sodbusters. This is a good field of competitors here. It's going to be a tough event. My practice run went really well. My takeoffs were really short, but landings were long. I'm going to definitely have to tighten those up tomorrow.
So hear from Brandon there that landings wrong. He's going to tighten up those landings, but we had really enjoyed watching him fly. Second place in the practice. To round out the practice scores, Luke Strandland with a combined score of 604, and the best score from Sam Lavery, his first run actually 646, with the DQ on that third run. Again, practice session, no big deal.
Yeah, it was so much fun to watch these guys and to see Brandon Korn hop right out of his airplane and right onto the microphone. That's what we call handling the pressure.
Exactly. So while we gear up for the next bit, we got Jeff Pohl getting ready to go there on the line. Want to talk about a couple people that help make this possible. One is flighthelmet.com. They sell, guess what, flight helmets. You can get custom flight helmets, all sorts of things there to help you with safety. That's a big thing in National STOL this season. All the pilots are required to wear a helmet while they're competing, and so flighthelmet.com, really appreciate their help to make sure that our pilots can be safe. The other thing we want to talk about is Flying Eyes, and I've got a pair on right now, but check this out. I want to show you in the booth here, and Corey's got his Flying Eyes as well. So check that out. I need a prescription, and I don't like to wear contacts, so I just do this when I'm in the plane, and they're not polarized. You can still see. And then check this out. They fit right under your headset. So right here where they're connecting, there's no gap. You still get that A&R seal to make sure that you can hear everything well in the cockpit while still wearing glasses or sunglasses. So thank you to Flying Eyes for all your help. You can use, I believe it's coupon code. Oh, I've maybe forgot it. Where is it? Coupon code National STOL. That was easy. How did I forget that? Just use coupon code National STOL, one word, for 10% off of your glasses at Flying Eyes Optics. And you can go check them out in Oshkosh by the tower at Oshkosh.
Yeah, I was actually over at Oshkosh yesterday, and I did notice that Flying Eyes has a much bigger booth this year, so that's really good to see, and fantastic for the industry to have them making sunglasses specifically for us, especially so comfortable and so easy to use. You know, you don't want to be fumbling around with things in the cockpit, you know, and being able to slide these sunglasses right on without having to fool around with your headset and having that seal be perfect, that is fantastic. So thank you to Flying Eyes for your support, and we love you.
And flighthelmet.com has a code as well, NSTOL50 for $50 off. That's NSTOL50, $50 off. You can also check them out at Oshkosh at AirVenture, booth 3104 and 3105 in Hangar C. So go check them out. And now we've got a beautiful man on camera. John McCardle is in the pits.
Hey, John McCardle here. Practice was interesting, to say the least, landing with a tailwind downhill. So not the best landing, but I think my takeoffs were pretty good. It was a nice trip down here. Had my my seat breaks. I had to switch seats out, so it's been entertaining.
So a seat break on the way down for John McCardle, that is something else to deal with. When you're working these airplanes, the way the pilots are working them, I suppose things break, and you got to be ready to handle it so you can continue competing. Speaking of competing, we have our backcountry class now in front of us, and let's get him introduced to you. In the 1955 Cessna 170 Bravo from Malacca, Minnesota, in race 00, Dirty Bird, it's Jeff Pohl, everybody.
So much fun to see Jeff Pohl pulling out here onto the line.